Hello. What are you doing? Hi, everybody. Well, I thought, I was thinking what kind of idea for this channel. And I'm kind of, excited at the moment with a band I've loved for almost 50 years, Sparks. They are actually playing at the Royal Albert Hall 2 nights in a row. They're playing tonight and tomorrow night, and both of the shows are sold out. Like I said, this is a band I've loved since 1974. They've been making albums since 1971. They've been creating since about 1966. One of their very first songs was called Computer Girl back in, I think, 1967. And so I thought I would just kind of take my time a bit on this channel and go through everything. I don't have a lot. I've got all of their albums and some DVDs and one vinyl record, and just show you what I have here. And who knows, maybe somebody else out there will become a Sparks fan. I've had so many people in the last few years. I've done videos on my other channel about them. I think I have over 50 on my other channel, through the years. And so many people have thanked me for becoming, they became fans because of me, or because of the Sparks Brothers documentary, which is another reason their popularity has really taken off in the last couple of years. And they're also playing the Hollywood Bowl. They're from California, and they are playing the Hollywood Bowl with They Might Be Giants opening up for them. First, I'll show you my vinyl record. Glenn Kellaway from The Basement gave it to me. I used to, of course, have this years ago. That's their 5th album, Sparks Indiscreet. You can see how indiscreet they're being. And I didn't know this for many years, but that's just like a picture, I guess, that they're standing in front of, whatever you want to call it. It's not, they're really not there at a plane crash site. I love the gatefold. They're just out getting groceries. And the back cover. And that's the other thing, they're back on the Island record label. They were on it when they had their first big hit with Kimono My House and the song This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us. And they re-signed with them this year. There's the Island label. And the other thing too is people are always saying, well, if they have an interest, they say, well, what album, should I listen to first? And it's really difficult to say, because they've done so many different varieties of music throughout the years. So I did make a Spotify playlist. And if I remember, I'll have a link. So I've got 3 concert movies on DVD. Sparks, live in London. No fancy label. Pretty plain. And then DVD, Sparks at the London Forum. Oh, and this has a label and a little booklet. then Sparks' Little Beethoven live in Stockholm, plus bonus live tracks and special features. And as you can see the poster there, the Sparks Brothers, a film by Edgar Wright, the very famous producer. Plus full-length live concert, and there's the bonus material on this. It's like, I think probably close to 2 hours. And like I said, a full concert. So this is, if you're a Sparks fan, you need this in your collection. And this is, I don't think it's on Netflix Canada anymore, but you might be able to find this documentary on some streaming service. And even if you don't like I've said, even if you don't like their music, their story is one of never giving up, right? They've been making music for over 50 years. And they're playing at the Royal Albert Hall. And on my main channel, I'm planning to rank all of the Sparks albums again. The last time I did that was in 2015, and it has, I think, over 50,000 views. So I just need to, redo it because there's been, of course, 2 or 3 new albums since then. So I'll just quickly go through their albums here. 1971, Sparks, produced by Todd Rundgren, although it was first released as Half Nelson. The band name was Half Nelson. The album wasn't selling, so their manager talked them into changing the name to the Sparks Brothers, which they didn't care for. And they thought, well, knock off the and the brothers. And they still weren't crazy about the name, but they became Sparks. So they were actually a band for these 2 albums. And then the second one in 1973, a Woofer in Tweeter's Clothing, with the very same band, all from California. And then they kind of disbanded, and Ron and Russell, the 2 brothers, got some UK musicians. They were starting to do well in the UK, performing live there, and they released Sparks Came On to My House in 1974. That's when I saw them on the Midnight Special for the very first time. And the song This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us went to number 2 on the charts. The album went, I think, number 4, or at least the top 10. And in the same year, they released another great album, Propaganda, which also did very well on the charts in the UK. They didn't do quite as well in America, except for a minor hit here and there. And both of these albums were produced by Steve Winwood's brother, Muff Winwood. And then in 1975, they got another producer, Tony Visconti, who produced, of course, a lot of fine David Bowie albums. And there's Discreet on CD. And that didn't do quite as well as the other 2 albums. Couple of kind of minor hits maybe, but the album didn't sell as much as well as they wanted it to, or were hoping for it to. But I love this. It might be my favorite Sparks album. Then, in 1976, they changed their sound. They got not saying they got rid of, but they disbanded, I guess, the UK musicians. And they got another band together, and they made Big Beat, which is their hard rock album, produced by Rupert Hines? No, sorry, Rupert Holmes. If you know the song, If You Like Pina Colada. And I love this album too. So that's 1976, and it didn't do very well. And then they went to Columbia Records, and that's why they called this album Introducing Sparks, or Reintroducing Sparks. A great pop rock album. It didn't do, except for, of course, the fans like me, it didn't sell that well. But they kept plugging away. Then, and this was created with studio musicians, but it's a great album. I love it. And then in 1979, they got Giorgio Moroder, very famous producer for Donna Summer, and they created this synth rock album with real drums, not a drum machine. One of the first. It's been highly influential. #1 in heaven. They had a big hit with Beat the Clock, and also #1 song in heaven. Here's the boys. Yeah, I was worried at first until I heard the album that, oh no, they're going disco. But it's much better than, not that all disco is bad, but I love this right away. It's one of my favorite albums of theirs. And so, like I said, this did very well. But not as well in America or Canada. Then in 1980, this was the first disappointing one. They kind of rush released this, I feel. It's not as creative. It's more, it doesn't really show their personalities. But they had a big hit in France with When I'm With You, which was a #1 song. A big seller in France. So, throughout their career, they always had success somewhere to keep them going. And then it was time to get another band together and start to rock again. And I was not disappointed with this. Want That Sucker? And this, they're from California, and this got some radio airplay. And then Angst In My Pants, which did even better in 1982. And this is the first time I saw them. They were also on Saturday Night Live. A couple of nights before I saw them in Toronto. And they had a top 40 hit with I Predict. And this album actually, or these albums actually did better in the States than in the UK. They were kind of, at this point, once again, they were kind of forgotten in the UK. And then this one, which I a tad disappointed in at the time, but now I really love it. Spurts in Outer Space, and they had another hit with Jane Wiedlin from the Go-Go's, Cool Places. So this also charted in the States. And then once again, kind of a disappointing album at the time, but just listening to it with fresh ears recently, I actually love this album now. Pulling Rabbits Out of a Hat. Which, I guess you could say it kind of bombed. But they kept plugging away, and next was Music That You Can Dance To. And I did not know this until the Sparks Brothers documentary. I guess some record company guy, right, was kind of pushing them, you got to do a dance album or a dance song, get a hit out there. So I guess out of the frustration of that, Ron wrote a song called Music That You Can Dance To. But it's great, yeah. But it didn't, Music That You Can Dance To, I think, was kind of a hit in the dance clubs in the States. But other than that, it didn't really do that well. And then Interior Design, I believe, was their first one they created in their home studio. And it was disappointing, but I love this a lot more now. But at the time, it was like, not that great. And I even love that cover. But, except for So Important having some, I think in the dance clubs it did okay, this didn't really sell. Just like all the other Sparks albums, or most of them. They kept plugging away. And yeah, for about 5 years after this album, I thought they were done. Because, they weren't ever in Rolling Stone magazine or any of the rock magazines I bought. They were never heard about on TV. So I thought they'd, given up, retired, or whatever. And then, in the early 90s, I believe, I saw this in the record store one day. Gratuitous Sax and Senseless Violence. And once again, they had a big hit in Germany with When Do I Get to Sing My Way? A huge hit. And I think it was kind of a little bit of a hit in the UK also. But not so much in the States. And then, I guess the record company talked them into, because they were catching on again, to do this plagiarism album, which in the documentary they think was kind of a mistake. It's them redoing some of their older songs. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. But, I think it was a bit of a mistake. They should have just made a new album. But it's still good. But this did not sell very well. Neither did Balls. And these are the newly remastered CDs. Kind of a dance synth rock album. Very catchy, and I really do like it. But it did not sell that well. It's getting depressing. Then, in 2002, I think they took a little more time in the studio, in their Spark studio that's in the singer Russell Male's home, and they created a little Beethoven. And this one, I wouldn't say it was a big seller, but it was really well respected in the music community and got a lot of rave reviews. And it was like, this is like their big comeback album. And they've been at it ever since for the last 20 years. Then Hello Young Lovers, which was excellent too, although the song Dick Around was banned by the BBC, which is silly. Like I said, once again, it wasn't a big seller, but it was very well respected, and for a Sparks album, it sold pretty well. And then another one, Exotic Creatures of the Deep. Another great album. So, they just kept plugging away. They've done one live album, and I saw them on this tour in 2013. So between 1982 and 2013, I hadn't seen them in concert for 31 years. And this is a double album, 2 hands, 1 mouth. It was a solo tour, just vocals and Ron on keyboards. You would think it would be boring, but it wasn't. And then, out of the blue, they did a collaboration with the band Franz Ferdinand, who were fans of Sparks. And they created one album, probably the only one they'll do, called FFS, Franz Ferdinand Sparks. And it is excellent. And it sold pretty well. And they had one hit with Johnny Delusional. So this one did, and this, you know, there were other things besides me talking about Sparks on my YouTube channel. I got a few fans from that, I think. But mainly it was the Sparks Brothers movie and this. Some Franz Ferdinand fans became Sparks fans. And then their last 3 albums, the one from 2017, make sure I got the right year, went to number 7 on the UK charts. Sparks were back. Yep, excellent album. Hippopotamus. And then a steady drip, drip, drip. And I also have this on 2 vinyl records. I've shown it before, I think, even on this channel. 2 picture discs. And this went to number 7 on the UK charts also. So Sparks were back. Excellent albums. And then this just came out 3 or 4 days ago. Sparks, The Girl is Crying in Her Latte. And it's one of their best. Seriously. I don't know where it's going to be in my ranking, but it is superb. There's the Latte. So I think the charts come out this Friday. So I know it's going to make the top 10. And I have a feeling it's going to do better than the top 7. But even if it doesn't, I mean, Sparks are back, and I'm very proud of them. So the extra ones I have here, this is the older version of Exotic Creatures of the Deep. They remastered some of their albums. And then Sparks also, they're always so creative. They did a movie called Annette. It's a musical. It's a little on the crazy side, but I really did enjoy it. A film by Leos Carax. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. It's called Annette. And this is the soundtrack. And they won some awards at the Cannes Movie Festival too for this. And this is an old compilation of their early songs, 2 discs. So I've had this. When did this come out? It was on the Rhino record label. Yeah, 1991. And comes with really nice booklets. Lots of great artwork. Goes through all of the early albums, and Ron and Russell talk about them. Really well done. And a more recent best of. This is, besides the Spotify playlist I mentioned, this is excellent too, if you want to learn more about Sparks. Past Tense, the best of Sparks. I think there's a 2-disc, but I have the 3-disc. Which even includes some of their later stuff from, I think, Hippopotamus. And the last thing, and I was looking on Discogs, and this I guess is selling for a pretty good price. Like I've seen it for like $200, $300, $400. It is The Seduction of Ingmar Bergman. That's hard for me to say. By Sparks. They did a radio play. And so this is once again a musical. I think I have the newer remaster of this too, somewhere. But yeah, this is, I guess, hard to come by now, and so it's worth a pretty penny. And it's really, and it's got like a felt kind of a feel to it too. $500 and it's yours. And that is it. I hope I didn't miss anything. Oh, I also have one more thing here. In the words of Sparks, selected lyrics edited by Ron Mayle, the keyboardist who does most of the lyrics, and Russell Mayle. Introduction by Morrissey. So yeah, it's like a book of poetry for mainly Ron Mayle's lyrics. And he is definitely one of my all-time favorite songwriters for lyrics and for songs. So yeah, that is it. I would love your thoughts below on if you've heard of Sparks, if you're a fan, if you're not a fan, and like I said, if I remember, I'll put the Spotify playlist that I created for them. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.